Hi, I'm Miranda Rolding, and this is an introduction to APS therapy, microcurrent pain relief, and it's kind of my story with it. I've been a nurse since 1993, and for 15 years I was the MS specialist nurse at the MS Therapy Centre in Bedford. And it was there that I first heard about APS therapy, microcurrent pain relief, when a friend of mine working at the Hull Pain Management Services for the NHS told me that they were using a machine called APS therapy machine, which was a microcurrent machine, because they were trialing it because at a local hospice, some people, including some people with MS, had been going to the hospice as a day case to try to get better management of their pain after the pain not being managed despite having vast amounts of different medications, and they were getting good results with this device. So that included people who had MS at different stages of the MS and having different good results, people who had had stroke and had various symptoms due to the stroke, also getting good results. So I travelled up to Hull to get trained initially and to find out what microcurrent therapy is. It is the application of electrical currents of a similar form and magnitude to those produced naturally by the body. So we're talking far less amps than a TENS machine. It is using electricity in the region of a millionth of an amp to replicate the natural currents of electricity that are used to transmit information between cells, and it requires the use of a device that generates microamps. So one amp is in the middle there. We use amps in all our electrical devices, and then in the tiny range, a TENS machine will be using what's called a milliamp, 0.001, and just create like a distracting tingle, which can distract your brain from strong pain. Microcurrent is using a microamp, which is 0.000001. So a really, really tiny amount of electricity. APS stands for Action Potential Simulation. So it is attempting to copy the action potential, and the action potential is that burst of electrical energy which shifts along between cells and triggers processes to happen. So all living cells expend a proportion of their daily energy requirement, generating electrical fields across their membranes. And the electrical fields are known to be very important in the healing process. There's a huge explosion of research going on in medical fields about the application of microcurrent. It started with a really small amount of papers being published in the mid-60s, and although this is a couple of years old, this slide, you can see how research is just increasing exponentially, and there is positive research on microcurrent to show its role in a range of different medical conditions, including painful conditions. APS therapy specifically has got published papers on osteoarthritis, back pain, chronic musculoskeletal disorders, and some on MS. The proposed mechanisms of it working, just super briefly, it has been shown to increase ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is known as the energy molecule, which allows for more natural healing mechanisms, but also to stimulate and influence the production, migration, and proliferation of cells involved in healing processes, and also to have neurohormonal effects, which can affect our perception of pain and well-being. So cells are stimulated to perform their functions effectively, cellular communication is enhanced, there's more ATP, so more boosting natural healing mechanisms and neurohormonal effects without energy being spent by the body. So around about 2012 at the Bedford MS Therapy Centre, we, with the kind fundraising of a local football club, purchased our first APS machine, and very quickly we ended up having 4 machines in a lovely clinic, and we had designated volunteers who were able to help people if they needed assistance, and also got a couple of machines which people could rent out and take home. We really scrupulously took data on how people did. So we were asking everybody at the beginning and at the end of a 6-week course of treatment, which ideally would be 3 times a week, but could be 1 or 2 times as well, to score their pain on a 0 to 10 scale. And at the end, I think when we had, there was about 65 people. Anyway, after the first kind of couple of years, we crunched all that together, and we found that 78% of the people who stuck out a 6-week course had reduced pain, and 13 or 22% of them didn't. For the normal pain, the average reduction was 3.22 points, and for the worst pain, the average reduction was 4.78 points. What we actually found, a little bit more polarized, was that there was a range between not helping at all, moderate help, to really dramatic pain scores dropping. And interestingly, because there were other benefits which we weren't expecting, some people who didn't find it helpful for their pain continued to carry on with using an APS therapy machine because it was so helpful to them in other areas, like helping them to sleep or helping with fatigue and energy. So that was the other unexpected thing, that the pain relief was the top result, but also reduced fatigue, improved sleep, reduced spasms and stiffness for some people, effects on mobility for some people, reduced incidence of urinary tract infections, improved mood, and others, including things like benefits with hormonal disorders. So people sometimes were telling us a huge range of effects that in actual fact were really improving the quality of their life. There's a really nice film on the MS Therapy Centre website. This has got a lady who had dramatic improvement in the management of her trigeminal neuralgia when 13 operations had not been able to help in a sustained way. Somebody who was using it for his fatigue, and somebody who and pain, and somebody who really found effects on the numbness in her feet, and then that affected her, it improved her mobility. So do have a look at that. In 2016 and 2017, presented the data in various forms at various MS conferences internationally, and also took on the distributorship because there was no distributor in the UK. So my aim with my business, as well as to help people relieve their pain, is really to try to promote awareness, train people. And my dream would be that people are able to use microcurrent on the NHS, because as a prescriber and somebody who's worked with medications for many years, for me, having something which cannot give harmful side effects but has the potential to give powerful improvement in pain management is absolutely fantastic. So in my private work, I've seen people with all kinds of different pain conditions. It's certainly not just for MS, and this isn't a comprehensive list. This is just a list of people who have actually given a testimonial. And then I also had a lot of fun training up other MS therapy centres and therapy centres around the UK, and these are some of the centres that are using it. Sadly, since 2020, when I've been full-time in the NHS, I really haven't been able to do that side of things, or any promotion or anything like that. So, that side of things really is in limbo. But the people who are already using it and already getting the benefit have certainly carried on. I also then did, as part of my master's, a systematic review and meta-analysis of microcurrent therapies for chronic pain. So that's when you take the watertight, like placebo-controlled studies, and you crunch them all together and you see what the outcomes are. And this was across a range of chronic pain conditions. And when you see a forest plot like this, the line that goes down the middle, that's if the blue blocks would be on that if there was no effect. When the effect is negative, so 2 of those studies had a negative effect, then the blocks are on the left side, and when the blocks are on the right side, that's showing that there was a positive findings compared to placebo or standard treatment. So the results of that suggested that it's associated with higher therapeutic efficiency in reducing the severity of pain in chronic pain or chronic type pain conditions than sham or control, demonstrated by lower pain scores across a range of chronic pain types, including inflammatory, musculoskeletal, and neuropathic. And of course, lots more research is needed. I also found out about the Microcurrent MyTouch, which is a neat little gadget which also does microcurrent as well as doing TENS and neuromuscular stimulation. So the pros of the Microcurrent MyTouch are that it is cheaper, so it's around £350 at the moment in the UK. It has those multiple modes that I just said. It's smaller, neater, slightly less dated, and has some good accessories. Cons are you've got a lot less control over where you place the electrodes, which way the electricity is running, and how high or how low you turn it. And you can't use two sets of electrodes on one pain area because you don't know which way the flow of the electricity is going, and you can't use it on your head. APS therapy, pros, simple to use, even with disability, nice chunky dials. You can use 4 electrodes at once, so 2 channels. You can control the amperage, so how high or low you can use it. You can use it on your head, and you can use 2 sets of electrodes on one pain area. The cons are it's more expensive, so it's around about 1,300. Well, it's 1,247. It only has the one microcurrent treatment, and it's a larger device. It's frustrating how expensive it is, but I am not the manufacturer, and it is manufactured in the Netherlands in very small batches, and we can't get the cost down. Benefits to the user, however, as I said, this doesn't always work, and it doesn't work for everybody, but as long as you don't have any of the contraindications to treatment, it is safer than taking 2 paracetamol, and the results can be improved pain relief. It can be complete pain relief. It can be just improved pain scores. But yeah, for many people, it can be going from pain to pain-free. Increased energy and reduced fatigue, better quality of sleep, faster injury repair, improved recovery time after exercise, improved well-being, and no unwanted side effects, which is huge. So I am a huge fan of these microcurrent pain relieving devices. I would be very happy to answer any questions that you've got. There will be a lot more content. I have presentations on far more in-depth. How does it work? Why does it work? What's the role of electricity in the body? Pain relief. How does pain work? Pain in MS. How does pain relief with microcurrent compare to using medications? And obviously practical, how you use the device, how you use it therapeutically on other people, how you use it yourself. So hopefully I'll be uploading some more of this. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you.